Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tarkov. I'm the EarLegAthlete here with,
Hey, Dizzle.
as well as our special guest for the week, Gigabeef. Thanks for coming on the pod. We've got plenty to talk about, so let's get right to it. All right, welcome in, Gigabeef. Glad to have you. Thanks for coming by the podcast. We appreciate you. If you don't mind, give everybody a quick introduction as to who you are and where they can find you.
Hello, yes, thank you for having me on the cast today. I am Gigabeef. I am predominantly a YouTuber. I do also stream as well. I tend to do tips videos, mechanics, like intricate mechanics, specific stuff like that. And I usually just try to make sure that there's something for everybody from beginners all the way through to veterans in all of my vids. So you can usually catch me streaming a lot more when the wipe's begun, and then I tend to tone it down a little bit because I have a wife and 2 kids, and YouTube is a bit more flexible. That's the reason why I tend to do more of that. But yeah, no. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's I'm Gigabeef everywhere except for on Twitch, which is Gigabeef TV, because some guy stole it years ago, and I've never been able to get Gigabeef on Twitch. It's so annoying.
Oh, that's so wild. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't think I have to ever worry about something like that. Earleg Athlete. I don't think
No,
anybody's
that's
going to be
that's a
like, oh,
pretty
what a name.
random name. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild
It's a
though.
bit
I
niche.
always
It's
get
like
it.
it's just like a what 3 words coordinate or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was us driving home from work one day, just talking randomly, and somehow we came up with EarLegAthlete. I don't know how. I don't even remember the story really.
Okay, well, when you duo with somebody and you put thousands of hours into a game also, you kind of just have really random conversations. So it's like we were just yapping, just back and forth, and somehow like, oh, did your ear legs come in? You know, some random nonsense that spewed out, and we ended up talking on that for like an hour. And ever since then it's just stuck.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
does
know he was going to
happen.
change the name to that. All of a sudden I see EarLegAthlete as his username. I'm like, did you
Yeah.
actually put your
Yeah.
name as that? And he's like,
Yeah.
yep. I was like, okay.
In fairness, something similar happened with my name in the first place, because it was some like old in joke from my IRL friends in school, and everything was, I can't even remember now why. Everything was like beef this, beef that. We even had like a little school band called The Beef, and I
That's
needed to get a
awesome.
new handle. Before that I was called R108 from Time Splitters 2, and someone had taken it in whatever game we were playing.
Nice. Yeah.
And I'd seen some guy the night before called Gigabyte, and I was like, that's a really cool name, and I just combined the two together, and that was it.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
tempted to change it so many times over the years, but there's just too much history. There's too much legacy. I used to play sort of competitive RTS under that name and stuff as well. So just like whatever.
Nice.
It's at least it's different,
What RTS
Yeah.
did you used to play? Well, competitively at least.
So the best, I was probably the best at Red Alert 3. That's probably my
nice. Yeah.
That's probably the best game I was at. So I kind of went through, started with, I mean, used to play RTS like old school ones before. Like we've just played Age of Empires forever, but I've never really played that competitively. But I mean, I kind of got into competitive RTS with Dawn of War, the original Dawn of War.
Yeah.
Which is a sick game, and I ended up, I think on that, because I was still pretty like little nooblet at that point, but I beat some guy within the top 100, I think, on that, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. That was like my best victory in that game. And then after that I moved on to Command and Conquer and a few other things, and yeah, I ended up on Red Alert 3 because that game was just like, it was just super fun. It was really, really good.
Right.
So I was in the top 100 for that for a while, and then I moved on to StarCraft after that.
Of course, you kind of have to. That's like the natural progression.
Yeah,
of things.
exactly. But like, I kind of missed out on StarCraft 1. Like, I never had it as a kid, and it was a lot later that I ended up picking it up. And I picked it up because StarCraft 2 was kind of coming at that point. And I was like, well, we best start playing StarCraft 1. Yeah, and so, I mean, that was hard. Like, that's like playing Tarkov now. Everyone's been playing this game for like 10 years, and you turn up, it's like, even just get off the bottom rung of the ELO ladder is like almost impossible. But did that for a bit. StarCraft 2 came out, played that, played a lot of that, and I went to the I series, the big LAN in the UK, and played competitively there, and got through to the final 16, and I got beat by some guy from Dignitas, and I was like, okay, like I was, I think, how old was I then? I think I was like 18 or something, and I was like, I have to basically decide, like, do I like actually want to do this like properly, or am I going to go like a more traditional route? And that was kind of the thing. And I was just like, back then, like esports was coming, but it wasn't really there. Like, it was a tough life.
You had like LAN tournaments, and there were things that were happening, but it wasn't the major payouts and crazy brackets and stuff.
And not really an RTS either.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is kind of as far as I'm going to get with this. So I kind of deprioritized it for a while. And Yeah, no, that's just ended up obviously coming full circle all the way back eventually years later with Tarkov, which is funny because I've never been that great at shooters, but because it's such a thinking man's game, you know?
Yeah,
It
there's
sort
so
of
much
ends
more
up
baked into
blending well.
Tarkov than just a shooter. It's funny because shooting is a major aspect of the game, but a lot of the times the shooting in Tarkov is like the least concerning aspect of it. Um, there's so much more to learn through Tarkov. It's baked as an RPG in my opinion. Like it's really well laid out for those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly.
What
Exactly.
did you used to play before Tarkov? Like, was there anything in between the RTS and the Tarkov stages, or did you go from RTS
So that
straight into
was
Tarkov? Or
kind of the other branch. So we did used to play FPS as well. So I kind of went on that route. I went from Counter-Strike Source to Call of Duty 4, and then into a few other bits. We used to play OG DayZ back in the day when it was an Arma 2 mod. So played a lot of that.
I love
And so that I've not played much of the standalone, but I played a lot of the Arma 2 mod. And then from there, I kind of took a big hiatus, but that sort of led me into I basically played Dota 2 for like 5 years or something. And then after that, that kind of like led me in, because we'd already played DayZ before, that led me into playing PUBG. PUBG was the game that I played directly before Tarkov, because I eventually got kind of fed up with the loop. I was just like, wow, I'm just a bit bored of the way this plays out. Let's look for something new. And I was just looking around, and I discovered Escape from Tarkov, and there was a few different games, and I thought this one actually looks kind of interesting. It's got like a player market in it. You know, I quite like the idea of being able to buy and sell stuff. Like that seems kind of neat. Like it's got a good economy. I'm quite into market stuff and economies and that kind of thing as well. So I gave it a try, and I basically played it in secret for like 4 or 5 days. And at the end of that period, I was just like, said to all my friends, I was just like, guys, you got to try this game. This game is actually insane.
yeah, there's so much.
So that was it, really. I mean, yeah, a bunch of us bought it. A couple of us carried on playing. I had one friend who went all the way to Kappa with me the first time actually the only time I got Kappa. He got it before I did, burnt himself out completely, and literally never played again after that wipe. And and so then it was basically just me after that. So that's how I ended up here. But I've kind of got stuck here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say you can introduce Tarkov to a lot of friends, but expecting them to actually stay on is rare, because people seem to they don't stick with it. Now, a lot of people still play Tarkov, but it is a very punishing game. So a lot of people don't expect that.
Yeah.
I think you
Or
can
they
kind
don't
of
wanna
tell
play
almost
something
from
like
I mean, however much you want to trust the BSG stats, I don't know. But if you look at the achievements, the number of people who've got the Welcome to Tarkov Die Once in EFT is only 45%. Now, I don't know fully what that means, but my sort of naive interpretation of that would be that 55% of players have literally not opened the game since achievements came in, right? Which would kind of make sense.
Yeah, that was what I
actually.
thought. Since the achievements were introduced, so many players had already given up on playing, which is a large player base, or a large percentage of the player base. That's kind of where I was at with it too, which is crazy to me that you'd never come
I
back
would
to
guess
Tarkov because of a few experiences early on.
a lot of it's probably also people with multiple accounts, accounts that just never got used, just were bought and then never like someone has it, but they just never did activate it. I don't know. That wouldn't trigger that. So yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, you'd
That
have to
probably
have at
is.
least.
Yeah, you'd have to at least activate it.
I just think there's a lot of people who just fall out of these things. They play it for a bit and they're like, I feel done with it. I've got the enjoyment I want. I'm onto other stuff. And you can kind of see that with there's other places you can kind of glean information. It's like Pestily, it's like 760,000 subs. The Tarkov subreddit's got 1.1 million people in it. It's like on a wipe, you kind of get probably 300, 400,000 people. So it's like, well, where are all these other people? They're just not playing. So
They gave up. Yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tarkov, we've said it a few times, and I always feel bad saying it, but it's the truth though. Tarkov isn't for everybody. Tarkov is a one of a kind experience that it's punishing, it's extremely rewarding on that end of it too. But yeah, a lot of players just it's not their cup of tea, right? It's not what they're looking for. It's a little bit too hardcore, it's too extreme, the healing mechanics and the lack of holding your hand and all these extra things that are added into the loop of it all is it's a lot for new players to take on, especially new players that don't have somebody there to guide them and help them along the way. I imagine that you log in, you try to figure it out, you go in raid, you don't bring enough ammo or magazines, or you don't realize you're supposed to reload your magazines or what have you, or you just get one tapped, and it can be a very frustrating experience. I mean, I had almost given up on Tarkov at one point when I first started playing. My buddy who was a Tarkov player, air quotes, kind of left me stranded a few times, and I was just like, I don't get it, I don't understand it, you know, like I hadn't done my research and done my homework to figure out what Tarkov was. I kind of just went into it blind. But yeah, I started talking to Adam outside of his work one day, and he was like, "You should play some Tarkov." I was like, "Oh, I have it. I just suck at it," you know. And then what? 4,000 hours later, here we are.
Yeah, from that point on, here we are. Because I remember when we first played, you're like, "This is a whole different game." You're like, "I was
Yeah, this is
playing it
not what I
completely
was
wrong."
playing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there was just something about it that attracted me when I was first looking at it, and I was like, yeah, guys, you got to play this game. Like, this game is insane. Like, you literally turn up, it tells you literally nothing. You don't even
yeah,
know where to go. You don't even know what you're supposed to do. You don't know how to leave. You don't know how you have to map pack
Yeah.
every mag
yeah.
individually. You know, you have to know what all the bullets are. I was like, you guys don't understand. There's like 8 different rounds for 5.56 on its own.
Yeah, just in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one caliber, there's so many rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have no idea what goes in an M4, let alone that there's different kinds you can use. It's like, wait a minute, what? I got to figure out what I use on this gun. Like most games, you
Yeah,
just put a mag in.
exactly. Like I'm not an IRL gun person particularly. I mean, in the UK we don't really have them, so
That's
it's
fair.
not something that you just kind of bump into. And coming from PUBG, you know, I actually did. Everybody knows about 7.62 by 39. You know, it's in CS. Like there's a difference between the AK in CS and the M4 with 5.56. Until I played
Right.
Tarkov, I literally didn't even know that 5.45 by 39 existed.
That's
Wow.
fair. Yeah, I mean, well, when you're
Well, I
not
tell
around
people all
it,
the
Because
you don't
time.
understand
In
it. Yeah,
PUBG, it's like the AR ammo, right? You pick up
yeah,
an AR ammo box, it feeds the M4 and other
Yeah.
stuff or
and the
whatever. It's just
AK.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like light,
yeah, it's
medium,
like so
heavy ammo
generic.
rounds, right? Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So I was just like, man, I'm like actually learning stuff here. This is like super cool.
Yeah, between Daisy and Tarkov, that's taught me, not necessarily taught me, but most of the things I know about guns is from those games. And
Mm.
honestly, they've got me into guns. Like I was never really into guns and stuff, but just learning the stuff in game has made me look into it IRL because, you know, normally I would have never checked into that stuff. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's
I'm a
cool to
pretty
actually
big
know
gun
about it.
nut when it comes to
Yeah,
IRL, and being able, like, especially once I figured out what Tarkov was and I actually learned a little bit, I was genuinely impressed at how in depth the ammo system was, as well as the oh my gosh, the modding system. They do a great job on all of that stuff. Uh,
yeah, you can
It's
tell
very
they're
cool.
into it in real life. Like
yeah,
you
Yeah.
don't like devs don't make a game like this unless they are passionate about guns and all that.
yeah, it goes so far
You wouldn't put
beyond
so
your
much.
average Call of Duty style, you know, weapon modding system. There's
Right.
it's in depth. It's definitely in depth, and the fact that there's real world counterparts for each individual weapon and ammo round and everything else, that's really cool because like I can build the AR that I have sitting up in my closet, locked away.
Hmm.
I can build that gun in Tarkov right now and go run it in raid. You know, like that's cool.
Mm.
That's interesting, and
Yeah.
it's a side of a game that you wouldn't expect to have. You know, because it's not what typical games do.
Well, so yeah, surprisingly, not many games do, and I think a lot of that is licensing reasons. I think Tarkov may have,
Crossed the
took the
line a couple
liberty
times.
of,
Yeah.
just using a few people's trademarks without their permission. But it is what it is, and I don't have to worry about that. I just play the game. I'm glad they did it because there's something about authenticity that I appreciate in a game, and you
It
don't
adds
get
a
very
layer.
many
Yeah.
that do it. It does because you can look at
Yeah.
something. I can find it in game, use it, think it's cool, and then I can look at it in the real world and see that, hey, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. And I can compare it and see how well they did it. It adds another layer that, you don't get. And I think it's I appreciate it more because whenever you just make things up, you can do whatever you want. When you're
Mm.
actually modeling something in real life, you have to study it. You have to like pretty much master it if you're gonna make it in game. So it adds
Yeah.
that next layer that I don't think a lot of shooters do.
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, talking on guns and Tarkov, Gigabeef, what is your preferred gun to run? If you're not limited by, you know, early wipe or ammo restrictions or anything like that, what is your go-to? What's your best
Honestly,
choice?
these days, my go-to is probably the RD704.
Okay. Good
It's
choice.
not it's not like the most meta gun, but I've always struggled in EFT with the 7.62 by 51 guns. Like, but even when people used to love the MDR, I just something about it is just like slightly off. I think the recoil is just like slightly too high for me. There's just something about it I just didn't like. Whereas I know with the RD, you can get the 50 round drum, you can get a suppressor, you can get LPVO, and it's still amazing on ergonomics. The recoil is not that high. The bullets
It
are good
does build
BP,
out
you
well.
know, like it's sort of, for me, it's that perfect middle ground of large magazine size. Because this is kind of the issue, I think, is that because I play 99.9% solo as well, I just need to have enough ammo that I'm going to be able to kill two people or something, you know. And it's the 30s and are great and all, but
Well, if
you
you're
need
not
a bit of
running the
extra
M4 with the
leeway.
bad lever, right? It's
Yeah,
almost unjustifiable to run 30s anymore. Obviously, early on, you're kind of forced into it.
and
But
this is
when you
the
have
thing,
the
like
option,
you need and it's not even about like mag dumping. It's just about having enough bullets to kind of
right,
pop a few shots, like shoot through a door, you know, kind of scare people, like sort of suppressing fire for yourself almost. That you're not necessarily actually going to be hitting them with all of those rounds, but you just need the ability to then not have to reload after pulling off some shenanigans.
You don't have to
that's why I love
think
the
about
RD.
And the amount of
mags above
times,
the DM team.
yeah,
But
yes, the RD is super good.
it is. It's great. It's statistically in the AK platform, it's so much better than the other AKs as far as ergo and just the performance you can get out of it for pretty cheap actually. It's one of my favorites also. I do love it.
yeah, it builds out well. It's limited on what you can build into it, right? You're
Yeah,
relatively
you can't
limited
do a
with the
ton.
lack of handguard and
A
stuff.
little bit, yeah.
But
the handguard's
it
already
doesn't
quite good
require.
when you look
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't
statistically at the
require
others.
those extra things. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a great
quite
gun.
good.
Already a modded gun. It's a pre-modded gun, and
Right.
therefore, you know what I mean? Like stock, it's already good, but you throw a couple things on it, and it's just as good as pretty much, if not better than a lot of guns.
Me personally, I like the HK. I like 5.56. I like the HK 416. I think it's a cool gun.
I always go for the M4, I think, rather than the HK.
Yeah, I do too. I am for it over HK.
I don't know. There's something about the HK I just like. I like it a lot. I mean, it builds out exactly the same
love
as
it.
the M4, so it is what it is. There are some baseline differences, but overall, I just like the look and feel of
They
the
are
HK.
similar, yeah.
They're similar, but like it's always been weird because the HK was the meta for a time in Tarkov where that was all everybody ran was the HK. Statistically, once it got nerfed, it's definitely not as good as the M4 statistically, but a lot of people still swear by it. I don't run it enough to know, but like M4 destroys it now, like statistically, but you can still run it, at least from what people say. You know, they swear it's still good, even though the stats are not as good.
I think that's the thing, you know. It's like if you're able to control the recoil, you get that extra 50 RPM. And people are like, well, you can spend as much stock on the M4, but you can't buy 50 RPM. You know, it's the sort of the AK-12 over the other kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you can control it and you're used to it and whatever, then like it can be awesome.
Well, we've did a lot of videos actually on guns, and we've pretty much come to the conclusion that you can use any gun in Tarkov as long as you're comfortable with it, as long as you know how to use it. And it's pretty much like buy a stock gun. If you're good with it, you can do just as good as you can with a really modded weapon.
Yeah, especially now with the recoil.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Since
the
the
new
recoil
change.
change, yeah, that did make a big difference.
How long have you been playing Tarkov, and what keeps you coming back to Tarkov wipe after wipe?
So I actually made a little note of it because people kept asking me. So I bought Tarkov on the 1st of May, 2019. So I've been playing for 6 years and a bit.
Yep.
When I joined, the flea market had already been added, but Reserve was yet to be released. So I'm not an OG. I don't have an alpha armband, for example.
Fair. Yeah.
So I guess what was in the game already? It was because originally it was factory and customs, and then they added woods, and then I think shoreline, and then interchange, I believe. And I can't remember which way around it was. Maybe it was interchange first, but I'm not sure. But and I joined basically then before they added reserve.
Nice.
So yeah, so 6 years ago.
2020, 2021, 2020.
What with reserve? Yeah, it was a bit later. Yeah, I can't remember exactly when. But yeah, so I mean, what keeps me coming back is that it's different every time. The wipes are great. There's something changes each time. For me, like these days, a lot Tarkov is like a puzzle game. You know, there's so much to. I was looking at the stash yesterday, and especially with this wipe that we've got right now, I'm just like, what do I want to keep? What do I want to sell? And I'm just like, well, I need that for my gun. I need this because I might want to eat it. This thing is a barter. This one's a quest later on. This one's a craft, but I can't do that yet because I'm not at the right module level. This one's for the hideout. I'm just like, man, I can't sell any of it. Like it's all. I need all of it. I need all my. I'm like Smorg the Dragon, you know, just like hoarding my stuff. Just like, I need everything.
My
I need to have it all.
trinkets. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas like most games are not like that. Most of them are, if you're picking stuff up, most of the time it's either there's no economy really to it, like in sort of vanilla or vanilla plus DayZ, where it's just like you're either using it or you're not.
Right.
Or something like, I've been playing a bit of Grey Zone before this wipe, and that's like cool, but you pick up stuff and you're like, okay, well that's just money, that's just money, that's just money, that's just money, that's just money. It's like not nowhere near as interesting, right?
Right. Yeah.
So in Tarkov, it's like every item has a use. There's so many, like they've added so many uses over time. There's different use case for each one. It's like, well, I could use this one, that's for this, but then if I put it in skill container, now I can use it in the hideout, and it's just so complex. So for me, it's a lot about the puzzle of figuring out what the optimal way is to get through, and that's the joy of it for me. It's like, well, how can I build this weapon to be the best weapon that it is? Which gun should I even run for this particular mission based on the ammo I have? What's the best way to get through to the next set of stuff? What's the most optimal way to get through to the next set of tasks or upgrades or rewards or whatever? And that's the joy for me. And every time they wipe, things different each time, so I get to solve a whole new set of puzzles each time, and that's what keeps me coming back. It's always different, and it kind of goes hand in hand with making the content, and I like teaching people as well. So the whole thing just works out nicely.
Yeah, well said. You said something a second ago, and I had a question about it, but it's escaping me at the moment. What do you what are some of your expectations for upcoming 1.0? Having seen everything kind of come together, how it has been over the last several wipes, is there anything like major you think that is going to be introduced that players aren't expecting, or do you have any kind of insight or ideas of something you would like to see introduced that would really help Tarkov in a way, or do you think that they've got things pretty ironed out and are on a pretty good track? Or
that's a really, really difficult question, because 1.0 has been kept under wraps for so long. They've been working on it for I mean, technically since the beginning, but I mean, they've been seriously working on it for a year and a half at least, as most of their focus.
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to know, because they've teased lots of different things. They've teased things like it's so weird, right? Like,
well, just looking at Twitter,
it's a test. It's supposed to be a test for for what 1.0 is going to be, but then they're not telling us anything about 1.0, and then there's loads of features that they've teased, like in-raid traders, that we're not going to get to test. So it's like, why did we do the last 8 years of all this stuff? So it is a bit of an odd one, but like in-raid traders might change everything. I know they're still fiddling around with transits. That's what a lot of this wipe is about. But I fully expect you to start the game. You're going to begin on ground zero. There's a screenshot that they did a while back, which is of somebody like lying down. You're just going to wake up, I think, and you're not going to have anything. You're going to have to extract out. It's going to be a bit more. I feel like it's going to be a bit more directed right from the outset. I don't think you're going to have a stash. I think there's going to be more like some movies at the beginning or whatever. Like you just like, it's like, oh, it's maybe I've just got it in my head already. There's like an advert for like the Northern region, like bring your business here. It's this free trade zone, blah blah.
Right.
And then it's the Terror Group HQ. The bear people turn up undercover, and like USEC won't let them in, or the police, I think it is, and then USEC won't let them in, and then they say, we're coming in, and there's a firefight or whatever. Yeah, because there's a whole backstory. They have a firefight over Terror Group HQ. And then, you're, depending on which side you choose, you're like part of either the USEC sort of defense or the bear assault. And then RPG goes off and you get blasted out. And that's that's the start of the game.
That's
you
where
wake
you start.
up in the rubble of ground zero. And then there's no hideout, there's no trade, there's nothing. So you're going to have to do some kind of quest line first to find the bunker system, to find the first sets of traders.
Get with therapists, start getting those things rolling, get a couple tasks done, introduce to some new traders.
Once you found them, then maybe then you get them integrated into your menu, because the menu's still going to be the same, I think. A lot of the core stuff about the game is going to be the same. So it's about the embellishments around the edges of what we have now. I think what we're playing now is probably more like what Tarkov will be once you've kind of gone through those main bits, and there'll still be the story to go through and do the escape. But how we get to this first section, I think, might be the first sort of 5 or 10 hours when it comes out. So that's kind of my expectation. Other than that, I don't think it's going to be that much different overall. But we'll have this story, some story to escape. But knowing BSG, it'll be actually very, very, very difficult, and we'll be kind of on par with Prestige or Kappa. So I don't know how many people are actually going to be able to escape. I think it depends on, how many people they actually want to do it, whether they want to make it like a proper, achievement, I guess. Like, there's, we're going to have this prestige system. Everyone's like, this is going to be super cool. And then they're like, it's basically Kappa. You just get Kappa and then you restart again. It's like, I don't really, I don't go for Kappa these days. So, I'm basically just not gonna do it because I just don't want to do half the quests. So we'll see how it ends up being.
It is a lot. What I would like to see for Kappa, and you just kind of sparked my mind on this when you said it, but I would like to see the Kappa container requirements get swapped up, wipe to wipe. Like, you need these tasks instead of these tasks now. You have to do this, this, and this, and reach this instead. Level requirements swapped and things like that, just to keep it less repetitive. Because it does get old, right? Like, doing the same thing over and over and over, it wears on you a bit. Especially for Kappa, after so many wipes, it's just like you said, you're not even going for it this wipe. So it's it would be cool to
Well,
see. But yeah, as for the 1.0 stuff, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's the one thing we can expect is a lot of the tasking probably to be mixed up and rearranged to where we're not doing the same old same. And if we know, if we believe Nikita or not, he said several times it's going to be a whole new game. He's made that exact comment. So I don't know what he means
Sure.
by that. I don't know if he means technically a whole new game or if he just means just by the progression. So I would imagine we'll be seeing a switch up on the Kappa requirements.
Yeah. And then obviously tasking is going to change, especially the order in which we
Yeah.
get our tasks. Like, we're going to go see therapists or probably therapists first, on ground zero. See her, do some tasks for her, and then I think it'll be like map to map progression as you get to the next map, you get to the next trader type situation. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we won't have a stash or a hideout for a good little chunk of the start of the wipe, or the start of the progression of 1.0.
Yeah, I think
Do
it'd be
you,
like a trader stash. Like each trader, you'll have a little bit of stash that you can like save some items with. But I think you're gonna have to like discover your hideout and all that stuff.
yeah, I think so
Um,
too.
a quick question on that: what do you think about the transit system?
I think the transit system is the problem is it's a really cool idea, right?
It
This
is.
you
It is.
always wanted the game to be an open world game, and technically they're just not able to do that. I mean, they're
Right.
technically unable to get streets to where they want to be on its own.
Right.
Right.
So they've had to go for some kind of technical compromise, and I think this is the issue. The vision is great, but the technicalities of it end up getting in the way. And
Yes.
this wipe we saw that in particular. There's the best that the transit system can be is a bit of a waste of people's time. The worst it can be is really, really annoying. Like people spawning in together, people spawning in right next to each other, people
Yeah.
spawning into right next to the boss guards, which is what happened to me,
Yeah.
and dying literally 2 seconds into the raid.
Yeah, I saw that. Not
Um,
great.
Jeez.
yeah, so annoying. Especially, and
Yeah.
that makes it even worse when, like, because we always talk about these things in Tarkov, saying, "Oh, this stuff's it's bad specifically in like cheaters and whatever." It's like specifically bad in Tarkov because when you lose, like you lose a lot. Like it's not
You
just you
lose,
die
yeah.
on Call of Duty, like you don't really care.
Right.
You actually lose stuff. You lose the time, the time you've invested, the gear, it's hard to get, whatever. So when you go customs reserve, go to the marked room, get the stuff out, come back to customs, and then get two tap by a boss literally before the screen's even faded to out of black.
Yeah.
It feels really, really rough, and I think that's probably why they've ended up kind of turning them off because,
Opening
or at
all the
least
maps
allowing you to go
and
into every
yeah.
map. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the technicality of it's just difficult. I mean, even when they work well, it's like that you get in these situations where, hey, I want to go to interchange today and I'm on customs. So I'll spawn into customs. Okay, I've spawned up big red side. That's fine. I'm right next to the interchange bus. Took me 4 minutes to get into the game. Now I've got to wait 1 minute before the extract opens. Not enough time for me to go anywhere and do anything. So I guess I'm just
Right.
sitting here. Then I get in the bus. Then it's 30 seconds getting through the actual transit. So I hold the button, wait for the 20 seconds. Then I'm back in the queue. Then I'm matching again. It's like another 4 minutes. I'm just like, can I just play the freaking game already? And
Right.
and that's kind of
Right.
like the best case scenario. Like escape from matchmaking, as people were calling it in my chat the other day.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue. Like if you held F and it screen faded to black and then it screen opened up on interchange, it'd be a different
Oh my goodness.
conversation. But it's just not technically possible.
Yeah, it's not on Unity
We've
and with as
we've
much
talked about it a
code
little bit.
spaghetti as they have
The
going on.
the only thing I could see them doing as far as, improving it would be lower the player count at the start of the raid. So you only have maybe 5 people loading in. And then over the next, say, 10, 15 minutes of the raid, have other people spawning in just at random times.
Yeah, just do
Kind
the
of like
arc
Arc Raiders
thing.
does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It puts so much
once they
less
get to
load
25
on
minutes, you can't load into that raid.
yeah, so much less load at the start of the raid. It makes loading times so much faster. It would make transit times not as congested because not everybody has to be queued up to go in. It just and Nikita answered someone, I can't remember, someone had asked him about that and said, "Is it possible we could do, different timers for, PMCs loading in on uh, different maps and everything?" And he said, "Yes, it's possible, and it's something they're looking into." So if they do that, that's that's maybe a fix. It still won't be instant, but I believe that would
It would lighten
solve half
things
the
a
problem.
lot, yeah.
Yeah,
It
if you're
would.
getting in within a minute and a half,
Yeah, I wouldn't
that's
complain too much about that.
okay.
That's reasonable,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I would be okay with that.
Yeah. I think that was
But
Hayes's take.
yeah, it might have been. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
remember reading it,
Mm.
and it surprised me when he said yes to it because I thought, well, that seems like something they would have been doing all along, but maybe they just now decided to, try to implement it, or maybe it's something they've had planned for 1.0 the whole time. Like that's something we just
Possible.
don't know, and unfortunately, we don't know what's a test right now or what's old or what's just something that they just don't want to show us. Nikita's always talking about having surprises, so it's one of those things. I guess we just won't know until 1.0 hits.
I think the problem is that you fundamentally have to change the architecture of the way the game works. I don't think you can just tack that on and fix it, which is why it's a bit strange. Because like thinking back, like back in the day, there used to be they had a sort of slightly less rigid matchmaker, and I don't know how long. I didn't actually ask you guys how long you've been playing, but when I was first starting playing, you could load into raids late, and it was a thing that people talked about for a long time, and you could be loading in up to, I think it was up to even like 2 or 3 minutes late. And the problem is because it wasn't intended in that instant, you could be the only person that loaded in late, for example. So wherever you wanted to go, whatever hotspot that you wanted to loot, you were
Everything's
always the
already,
last person there.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
stuff's already looted. People are already in all the positions. You just didn't even get the chance to go, especially with places like Resort and stuff. You just well, I'm out of luck now. Like I've loaded in late, and that's the end of it. And so people petitioned really, really, really hard for BSG to ensure that everybody loads in at the same time, which is the reason why it is now. But it came with longer matchmaking, and so it's funny because like we can't just go back to the simple solution. The only other way to do it is to fully change the infrastructure of the whole game, so it's a bit more like the cycle. Which the best part about the
Persistent
cycle
world,
frontier.
yeah.
Persistent worlds, some kind of loot respawning mechanic where players are infilling and exfilling continuously, and those servers are just always open. Now it's a really good solution. Changes the game flow completely, which is fine.
It
But
does.
they'd have to kind of reorganize everything. But it does mean
Yeah,
that you can
that
get
would
into a
be
game instantly, right? Because you're not having to match with anyone because the
Correct,
server's
yeah.
already open. You're just getting shoved into a server that's kind of open. So you're not having to like spin up the entire instance every time people want to play a raid together. So that would be one way, but it's so different to what they're doing now. I just don't see how it's possible, and I don't think just like staging a few people later. I just don't think that would feel good with the way that it is, in my opinion, based on the fact that we did have this previously, and it's just Tarkov's just not designed like that.
Yeah, with the hardcore wipe and the reduced rare loot and stuff like that, it would work within this wipe cycle. But if they go back to the regular loot system of Tarkov, I don't think it could work just because there would be nothing there. You would, if you're the one that loads in late, like you said, there's just nothing there. You're already out of position. People are ahead of you
I
and
would
they have the
almost trade
advantage.
that
Or
in
what?
though. I would almost trade that in. Like I would rather have less loot and sometimes be the second person, third person to get to a point of interest for faster load times. Because I mean, like
If they're going to
the
force the
next
transit
match,
system, sure,
well,
right?
yeah, the next match you might be the first person, and they might be, it's going to even out. And I would, if the positive would be quicker loading, I would take that. I know some
If
people
Yeah, it's
wouldn't. I know a
interesting.
lot of people wouldn't. Yeah, I know a
if
lot of people wouldn't.
we have to use the transit system to go from place to place and we have to deal with that kind of thing, yeah, I would take that trade off. I would say, yeah, reduce some of the loot so that, players don't feel as bad about not getting there first. Just because, the chance of it even being there is slim, just to have faster load times. But I mean, that's if they force the transits. I don't think it would really be necessary without it. I mean, I say that, but we sat in queue last night for 30 minutes trying to go to streets. So,
Yeah, yeah. And then we got to streets, and we are surrounded by 2 other
yeah,
teams, a
yeah.
4-man on one side of us and another guy right beside us, and we all spawned in the same area. And we're all
Yeah.
just sitting
Oh
there waiting
god.
for someone else to make a
Well, and
move, you
we
know what I mean?
spawned at broken house or damaged house, right? So
Yeah,
we're at the
yeah,
very
that was
back of
Mm,
nice.
that alleyway, and there's 6
that's an
Yep.
players
awful
at
one anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And there's 6 players in front of us, just like, well, we know there's somebody back there. Yeah, all right,
I'm
well,
peeking around the
we'll
corner
sit
and
here for 30
I see
minutes.
one guy. I see one guy come out of the building. I see 2 guys. I see 3 guys. I see 4 guys. I'm like, that's a 4-man. Let's
Yeah.
let's not push that. Yeah, so that has to be fixed if they're going to keep it in. Like that right there, like you was saying, Gigabeef, it just that'll ruin a player's night. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who you are, how you play. If you've put in all the effort to get somewhere and you've had, even if you haven't had a ton of success, if you end up getting put in that situation and you die because of that, it just takes all the momentum out. Like, why even play?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it
Yeah,
really does.
on paper, the transit system seems great. In
It
practice, it's
does.
just not there. It's just I think
Yeah,
it
it's just not
needs
ready.
I think there yeah, I was gonna say, I think there's a potential for it coming out and working as they want it to, or at least having
Maybe.
more of an effect, but to
Well,
force I think that was the mistake, was forcing everybody to have to do it. It just caused too many problems, and it just exposed how bad the transit system is, unfortunately. Because
well,
I
here's a
do
Yeah, because
think
it's
it's a
question.
kind
cool
of.
system. I think it's an
Hmm,
interesting idea.
Here's a question for both of you. Would you just be okay if they just ditched it completely?
I don't know. I don't know.
probably.
I was gonna say, yeah, like part of me wanted to just flat out say, yeah, no problem. Like I can deal without that. I played for, hours and hours without it. That's no issue. But at the same time, then that removes things like marathon, like no more just starting on ground zero, going ground zero labs, street or ground zero streets, lab streets, interchange, working your way through all the maps and like trying to survive. And I've
Well,
done entire
you can
streams where I
still
sat in raid for 6, 8+ hours just going back and forth, surviving off of what I find in raid, like playing this hardcore play style type situation. And that kind of stuff is fun to do. It is, but I wasn't forced into it. And I think that's the deciding factor there is the fact that when you start forcing players to use it, that's where the problems start to arise. When it's just a feature that you can take if you want to, take it or leave it, it's up to you. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think it's that bad of a system.
I think that's the key.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
It
think
would
so.
have
I
to be
think
tweaked
yeah.
for me to want them to keep it.
Now,
I
see,
feel
if you
like
kind of opt in, it's like it's fine, right? Because you go,
Right.
well, I know what I'm getting myself in for.
right, you know what you're
And
getting
having
in for.
transit quests is fine because you say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to plan to do this. I know I've got enough time. I'm going to go to this place, do that, do this thing, do that thing, the other thing. But normally, if you have to do it, it's like, well, I feel kind of beholden to this system now. I don't have any choice here,
Right.
and it just kind of sucks.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
it's
having both is
especially
totally okay.
yeah. Well, and it's especially frustrating with the transit system currently when you want to go to Woods for the most whatever like basic reason possible. I need Saluas or like I need
Mm.
I don't want to run
Gotta get
factory.
Jaeger's
I
note.
don't
Gotta
want
get Jaeger's note.
I don't want to
'Cause
go
you
to
gotta go through
factory to go to
factory.
Woods. I hate factory.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
factory enjoyer. I'm not like
Yeah.
I've got 4K hours in the game, but that still doesn't mean that I'm a factory player. Like I don't enjoy that map. It's greasy. The players that play it are greasy. I'm not good on that map. I understand it. I just I'm not very good with it.
No, I'm
And
right
I'm
there
okay
with
with
you. I
that.
hate factory.
But being forced to go to factory just to run through to transit to Woods, I think that's where the line was crossed. I think that's the things I dislike about the transit system currently.
Yeah, that was rough. It was. And I
And I
feel like
get
if
it.
they implemented that in the base game, like I feel like it would just be one time. It's like maybe you have to go to the transit to discover, but that almost makes it pointless because you do it once and you never have to do it again. So
Right.
it's like I don't know what the usage for it
I
will
think
be
leaving
or
the
if it
option
even will be.
there for players that want to do it or want to do the marathon
Yeah.
achievement, things like that. I think it's okay. I just forcing players into it is the bad side of it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
and everybody
exactly.
was using it. Like this wipe especially showed us how bad it can get because you have everybody using it. Everybody that's going to be on those other maps, they have to transit to get there. So it's getting used way more than normal. There was just a lot of pressure on those servers, and we already all know how the BSG servers do at the start of a wipe anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I was kind of surprised how well they held up the first few days, or actually the first day. I was getting in customs like in 2 minutes, under 2 minutes. I was getting in my scav raids under 2 minutes. Like, I was shocked. But then as I started doing the transits, I started noticing the whole
Yeah, yeah. How bad it was. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I think that was maybe the part that they screwed up a bit with was I was predicting and a few other people were predicting Ground Zero Customs Woods as the maps that were open
Right.
originally. But because they chose factory, yeah, as you say, you ended with that weird situation where you have to go through factory.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I think they can keep it in. I think they can keep specific quests in for it as well. Have some transit quests. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
But in the way that it's implemented right now, it's just too hard to make it enjoyable and good in every situation. It's just like too technically difficult. Doesn't feel like a good experience. Like honestly though, the one thing that they could do to fix it and make it actually feel okay is what they did with the normal matchmaking, but they could still go further with that, which is just give you the ability to actually do anything, anything
Right.
while you're
While
matching.
you're waiting.
Please,
Yeah, absolutely.
like we had that with the main stash. That's fine. That's okay, but it only works halfway through. yeah, when it's loading the game, I understand, you know, maybe it blocks it for a bit. But when you're waiting for players at the end as well, like bring the functionality back. When you're doing the transit and you're just waiting to queue in, like let me use my stash. It can be locked, like I'm not moving stuff over onto my PMC. I just want to be able to see my stuff. I want to be able to use the handbook. I just want to be able to like do anything. I'm just having to watch my guy just load into this map. And that's the worst part. You know, now the matching times feel so much better because I'm just organizing my stash half the time. I'd have been doing that anyway without pressing go before.
Right.
So the raid time feels like half now because I'm not paying attention for the first 3 minutes because I don't know, putting bolts in the junk box or something.
Yeah,
if you had your
moving ammo
hideout
from
to
bag
mess
to
with,
bag, and yeah.
you could start some crafts. You could, you know, finish some. You could, you know, it just gives you something, like anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like let me
I think
pick
that
up a
would help a
Tetris
lot.
and play Tetris on the load screen. Like what? I mean, honestly, even that would do.
Yeah, just give us a Tetris.
Anything other than just brain dead, mindlessly sitting here staring at a screen, you know, like.
Well, and hopefully they've got
Yeah.
something planned. If one
Well,
thing I
that was
can
my
say
thought
is,
with hardcore because when they said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, no, I was just gonna say I feel like they probably have something planned. Like they know what people hate the most about Tarkov. Like they hear it all day, every day, so they know. And then with like the Tarkov community, there's a lot of good suggestions that get put there, and a lot of stuff they use. So I wouldn't be surprised if something has been, you know, already prepared to counteract with, you know, the bad sides of it. If they keep
Yeah.
it, they might not even keep it, but
I was
until 1.0, we just don't know.
Yeah, that's they keep so many things just tucked away, like, you know, super hush hush and quiet. They're like, we can't let players know.
Right. Well,
And
understandable.
I,
You have to
yeah,
have some new
absolutely,
stuff.
absolutely.
If you give everything away, 1.0 is, and Nikita's even said that. He said if we give everything away, 1.0 is going to be an update. He
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
want
just
it to be
another
an
wipe.
update. He wants it to be a new experience. He wants it to be a totally different game. And if we know everything or have tried everything, then it's just going to be another update.
But yeah, as for the transit stuff, I mean, we have recording or videos up of me saying this. I was certain that they weren't forcing this transit system without having reworked it and made major changes to it. And I was on board with the whole idea, but then getting in raid and seeing it and everything else, it was just not at all what I expected. So I was genuinely a little bit surprised that they would force something that they had half baked, right? Something that they hadn't tested enough, and something that they maybe did test and just thought that it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, it's such a crucial part of what was the hardcore wipe at the start to not have that baked all the way through. I don't know, it threw me off. It made me kinda question some things, which normally I don't, but I don't know, it
Well,
just
it's like
felt
this.
like it was
This
just
was
like
the
a
test.
give me
You know what I mean?
mechanic,
Like
but then
this,
that's where I was leading towards
this
was they
was the
did
test.
state these are tests, so
Yeah.
I've been a
There's no
little
other way
bit
to
more
mass test the
forgiving about it.
servers. There's no other way to mass test the servers unless you do it live. Like
Right, you
that's the
have
only
to,
way you're going to
yeah.
get that kind of load. Yeah. So, you know, what better time to do it than right before 1.0? If it's that's something you're planning on putting in the game, this is the last chance you have to test it out, see the vulnerabilities and patch it, you know.
Well, and we had what,
I'm sure.
2, 3 days of having to deal with the transit system if you wanna go anywhere,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
while it was
Yeah, it wasn't
bad, it
bad,
was
you know, it was
rough,
okay.
like, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, and it could have been much worse. Like, we could still be having to deal with that, so
I think it just
Well,
ended
that's
up with
another
most people
thing.
playing customs all day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
ended up doing, just going to customs.
That leads into another thing here. In what do you think, just overall, of this hardcore rule set and the way we've been playing? Are you a fan of it? Do you hate everything about it? Something you like?
I actually like most of it. I like most of what is going on here. There's lots of different ways you can go about hardcore, secure container, and whatever. Especially like that was one that's divisive. Some people want the container to be locked. Some people want it to be the way it is now. I think
I've
that
seen
there
a
are
lot of back and forth
um,
on that, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I think the rules overall are good. I mean, the biggest problems are the transits, the bosses,
And
and there's
ref.
one other thing that I can't remember, but I'll probably remember in a second. Yeah, maybe arena.
I was gonna say, for me, it's
But
ref,
those
that's
things
the big
those things could
downfall.
be kind of they could be fixed. You know, they're not necessarily that big of a problem. It's like people being able to farm too good gear too easily, but if people start on words and that's transit to factory to get it, it cuts a lot of the
Right.
Right.
the speed of getting to killer. But like the rest of it, I think is pretty cool. Like I know again, it's divisive. The money from the traders, you know, no insurance. I think they probably should have done no insurance rather than insurance being super
Yeah, yeah, that's what
pricey.
we
Agreed,
voted
Because
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
because they've managed to just leave themselves in a situation where they've managed to price it perfectly so that people can spend their entire set of cash on
Yeah,
it by
I
accident.
think that's the idea. I genuinely think
Hessily
that is a
insured
troll. I think that they did that on purpose.
Hessily insured his first kit by accident, and it was 600K. His very first
Yeah.
kit. He's like, oh, that insurance was 60K, and Chad's like, no, that was
No.
600K. He's like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, that was 600K. He's like, well, I'm broke.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if they made it like 100 times more expensive, you wouldn't be able to afford it. So that would sort of be whatever. But because they made it, 10x, like, oh, you can just about afford it, and you press the wrong button one time out of muscle memory, and then you bankrupt
Yeah,
yourself.
muscle memory is gonna bring. Yeah, exactly.
And same with like therapist post-raid healing and all sorts. But like, I like a lot of the stuff that they've done. I actually like the way the secure container plays out at the moment. It's quite
Yeah, it's
good
just a
to be able to
lunchbox.
you kill somebody and then they've got their meds on them, they've got their ammo. It's actually been quite nice. Like it's been quite nice in that way. It's been good to the money situation is a struggle, but I quite like the puzzle game of like figuring out what to sell, what to keep.
Absolutely.
Well, there's also not a
some people have
huge
had it
use
rough,
for
but
money, right? Like outside of like if you're going broke from losing everything, money doesn't have the biggest role right now. Like sure you need a little bit of cash for hideout, you need a little bit of cash for repairs and things like that. But overall, money seems to not be the focus, which I'm perfectly okay with.
yeah, that's
I've
kind of
been
the idea. I
maintaining
think
like 60K rubles since the start of wipe.
that's the thing. You kind of keep as much as you can, and then I need a bit of money. Okay, well, what do I sell? I'll sell this
Yeah,
thing. I'll
yeah.
sell that thing. It's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah,
And I quite like
as
that. But
needed.
it's hard to get the money stack up because you're selling stuff to the traders and it hardly sells for anything. And you're like, man, do I want to buy that 366 suppressor? It's like 80K. Do I actually want to pay for that?
Right.
I don't really know. So I kind of don't mind having to struggle along with that. It's a bit rough for new people.
It is.
But it's like I don't know. I like the changes. It is hardcore. It is
do.
good in most, like 70%. I think is what I like.
User-friendly hardcore, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's fair for new players. To seasoned players, they get a little bit of a challenge on top of it, and it keeps things.
Yeah.
Obviously, they could have went way more hardcore with it. They could have went with like the Pestily rule set or similar to what we
the
did
Deadly
with blend
Sub
a few
rule
rule sets. So like they had more extreme options, but I think they did good to balance it in a place that lets every player still play the game. Granted, not every player's happy with this, not saying that the players are going to play, but it gives them the opportunity to still step in and play what they're used to playing. I do like the changes to money. I do like the idea that it's not about just farming billions of rubles and, maximizing the amount of LEDXs, GPUs, Bitcoins, and things in your stash. I think I like the focus that it's more about what you do in raid and what you acquire to use in raid over the other. But, I mean, there's an obvious give and take with it. And in my opinion, they did fall short on a few things, but I don't think it's anything noteworthy to be like, oh, it ruined it,
No. I'm totally cool with everything they did. I think they succeeded in slowing the progression down. I think that was their main focus, was extend early wipe as long as they can. And I feel like for the most part, it's worked. Now, there's some shortcomings, here and there, but for the most part, it has worked. And I just feel like a lot of people wanted that. A lot of people had asked for that. And, it's just big changes are always rough in the EFT community. And for the most part, I feel like most people were okay with it. There was a lot of complaining, but usually they change one thing and there's like
right.
a complete, like just complete chaos, throughout the community.
Mhm.
So the fact that, most people are still playing, at least from what I can see, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think the one thing they could have done better was adding some different quests in at the beginning. I think having no quests was a bit of a strange choice. I think it was. I think they wanted to just test what people said about it. And in my community, people were split 50-50. Half the people felt like they had no direction, that they needed the quests to actually kind of frame their experience, and they felt bored without them. The other half of the community was just like, I've been playing DayZ for 20 years, and I've been waiting for this my whole life.
That's exactly what we were already talking about, was DayZ players. I'm a very, very devoted DayZ player. Like DayZ was my first like game that I played. I have probably, I don't know, like 7,000 hours in DayZ. I also have like 7,500 hours in Tarkov. So I'm kind of like, that I love that play style of just not having a specific task, just going in and surviving. And I think this wipe, it took me to places on the map that I don't normally go, and I seen people in areas that I don't normally see them, just because a lot of people were just chasing shots or just wandering around. And like that was cool, but I don't think that's worth getting rid of task. I think there's got to be another way to provide that without getting rid of task.
Yeah, I really wish that they'd added some hardcore tasks like travel to interchange and get 10 scav kills, get
Yeah,
to
stuff like that.
shoreline and do what, like, because I know this wipe they were not going to be doing anything that required some hardcore coding, because Pesley said in his video he'd spoken to Nikita and they're trying to do 1.0, so they didn't want to take too much time away from the team to prepare this wipe, which is the reason why all they did was tweak dials and knobs really and not do much, which is fair enough. I respect that. But
it's understandable.
It would be there are tasks that are easy for them to put in. It'd be like those, for example, make this transit and then kill 10 entities of some kind. That is very, very straightforward. It's just counters. So you're not having to put in
code's already there.
hitboxes.
They just have to tweak it.
You're not having to do you have to pick up this, and they're putting new quests in the game all the time like that, like the ones for Labyrinth, or the newer ones for for the sort of arena ones, ref ones, whatever. They've added loads of quests over the time. So if they, instead of the first couple of days, they've got, you've got these transit ones instead. You've got these hardcore ones which are just a bit different. They're something else. They tie in with the wipe. They don't necessarily need to have dedicated new items that have been modeled in assets and pick up and have a special place to drop them or anything like that. It doesn't need to be even that complicated. Literally just go to this place and kill 10 things. Use this transit 3 times. Stuff like that. Just to get people who want to have something to do, give them something to do. The people who don't have something to do, well, they're just going to make their own fun anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you got to, some people do actually need something, and I think that has probably taught Nikita and the team. It's good they did it and tried it, but there's a lot of people who wanted something to do, and so they could have done that easily, I think. But I relish being able to go wherever I wanted, not forced through the ground zero meat grinder for the first 3 days.
Absolutely. Oh, and the no scavs and no player scavs on ground zero still, as of right now, at least.
Oh yeah, dude, beautiful, right?
That is such a change, dude. That is so much better, because if you got, you have to go there your first few raids, and it's like so many wipes. It was like player scav central, because everybody's going on there. They know all the players are going on there, and it just turns crazy. And this wipe, I didn't even really notice it at first, but then I started, thinking about it. I was like, oh, wait a minute, scavs can't load in here. And they can transit here, I think. Can't they? I think they can.
I think you can transit.
I don't think I didn't try it, so I don't know. I don't know if they actually restrict it, but
fairly certain
I think that just made the map a lot more playable.
Well, it's already a very confined map, and with the amount of player PMCs that are on there, it gets convoluted as it is. Adding in the player scavs previously,
everybody running.
Like it was just extra layers of chaos that didn't really fit with the size of the map, in my opinion. So
I labeled it as the starter map. Like, this is supposed to be the introduction, and then you got all this chaos going on.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah,
but I think that's the right choice. Turn off scavs, turn off player scavs, at least at the beginning of the wipe or something.
Yeah. Do you guys think progression was still too fast, even with the hardcore wipe, or do you think it's in a pretty good place?
I think it's fine because of the way that they've done it. Right now, what we got traders are locked off at level 1. Ref is non-existent, notwithstanding the arena cache problem, but that's
that's its own issue. Yeah,
that's its own problem.
Yep.
The hideout can only be taken to level 2 modules at most, and some not there because of the traders.
Correct.
Right.
I think because of that, and the tasks are locked too, so you can only get up to certain tasks. You can't do anything on Shoreline right now. You can't do anything on Interchange. Nothing on Reserve. You can get to Tarkov Shooter 3. You can get to Shooter 1 in Heaven. You can't get to Bad Rep Evidence. So you're really locked on task 2. Like, there's only, obviously, they don't do anything yet because you can't get to level 2 traders. But I feel like the progression's okay on that basis, because you've got your backstop of the crap gear on level 1 traders, and outside of that, you're going to have to go and get it all. So that locks off that progression there and makes it so you're always trying to get something that's going to deal consistently with other players. The 20 pen ammo that you get on the traders isn't going to do that. So you have to go and out to find other things, better optics, better ammo, better guns, better armor yourself to fend off other players, because what you get from the traders isn't really sufficient to compete fully, which is how it should be, in my opinion. So I actually think it's okay. With the level 1 trader lock, I think that's making it work.
Yeah, you should not be able to buy a meta kit every time you die and just buy everything. That's the thing. You got to have the looting. Tarkov looting has to matter. You have to have a reason to go and raid. If you're not actually picking up things to use in raid, then that kind of just takes a chunk of Tarkov out, because that's part of the game, and it should be like, it should matter. And if you can just buy everything from the traders, what's the point? You just farm money, go in raid, farm as much money as you can. Don't worry about the loot. Just find stuff that's valuable. Go back, sell it, buy everything you need. It's part of the game that needs to be there. Now, here's the other thing, and progression is slow, but you can definitely still find some great stuff if you're good enough. I was watching the tweet that Chief put up where he got down to Labyrinth. He got 61,000 experience for this raid. He made 41 million rubles, I believe, is what he said.
Oh my goodness.
He killed, Tagila and Killa, and Killa had 50 round mags with MIA AP in it. Like there's loot, there's tons of loot, and there are ways to get it, but it's very hard. But now here's the other thing on the 100% boss spawns. I would have been okay if it was 50%.
I was gonna say around 40%, 50%. Yeah.
I feel like 50% because that puts, 40, 50, either one. But I mean, you need enough of the boss spawns to actually get some good gear in the economy. But I think 100% is too much good gear in the economy because you got the same people that are just going to farm it map out or raid after raid after raid. And those people are just probably going to, just keep doing it as long as they can. If you know they're there every raid, you're just going to do it.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, more power to the players that are more than capable of running it and getting it every time and doing it. I mean, abuse it while you can, right? Oh my goodness. I need to drink water. Sorry, 1 second. But abuse it while you can. But for the aspect of the gameplay loop when all the other players are in mid to low gear, we're rocking level 3 to level 4 plates at best if you're lucky, like I've only got a couple sets of high tier plates. Ammo is low pin, low damage stuff, or low pin, high damage things. It really offsets a lot of it. And not saying I've ran into player after player after player with Killa gear and Tagila gear and things like that. But it has happened. Sure. I was gonna say it has happened more than I expected it to. And it's just one of those things. I think it should have been balanced a little bit more. I think a lower percentage chance is fine. I mean, in my opinion, I think. Go ahead.
Well, when we first our first few scav raids we did, we went straight to customs and we got tons of gear off the bosses. We got all those AKs.
Just finding Rashala
we
dead,
got all those helmets. Yeah. And it was like that gear was just laying there every raid. And I feel like it just would have been nice if that would have had a less chance instead of being so predictable.
Or
every raid.
The other option that I was getting ready to lead into was the idea that 100% boss, sure, change the gear that they have. Not every raid should they be rocking their best option of stuff. And sure, a couple of the bosses can have different ammo types to where it's like you either hit the good stuff or you get the decent stuff. But when hardcore is happening, that BT ammo that Killa can drop is crucial. Like that's really good ammo for this type of situation. So I would have liked to have seen it just balanced a little bit better, like keep it at 100%, because it does add oh my gosh, it does add a gameplay mechanic to it that you have to consider the boss when you're going through the maps. There's certain places you don't want to push, aspect wise and things. But yeah, so it's one of those things that they probably could have balanced differently. They probably could have made work better. Is it the worst thing in the world? I don't think so. But it's a weird spot for me because I'm all for it. I like 100% boss spawn because I like the idea of just being able to go in and fight bosses. But I think for the entirety of the player base, I think it would have been better to either lower the percentage of spawn chance or just lower the tier at which of gear they have. So I think they could have done some stuff to balance it out.
I really thought they were just going to lower the amount of gear that the bosses had. I figured they would have worse guns, worse ammo, worse armor, which in some cases it seems like that, but you never know because sometimes they have random things on. But it does seem like there wasn't much tweaking to what they were rocking. But what's your opinion on it, Giga?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a combination. I've seen a few different takes here and there. I think that the 100% boss spawns on its own is a problem because part of the deal with Tarkov is not knowing what's going to happen in raid. So knowing that they're always going to be there, it gives you free information. So I was talking about this earlier with Church actually. Like if you go onto the streets and you go to MVD and Colin Ty is not there, he is in the other building.
Right.
Yeah, he has to be. Yeah. And you know it. And so that just gives you free information already, just knowing that he's going to be there to begin with. So if I am actually not even opposed to 70%, I think, because that's what it is right now. I actually think that that's probably okay, so long as you then have some other things like you guys were just talking about. And there's two ways to do it. I saw Airwing actually just posted something suggesting something that I thought was quite smart, which is that if you had again, it comes back to the transits and the way they did it at the beginning.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, why don't you have the bosses be like 30% on the maps that you can go to, and on the maps that you have to transit to, have them be 100
Yeah,
or
that was a
70 or
good
something.
take. Yeah.
Because then, you're incentivized to go elsewhere, but you can't just farm the one on the map that you're on super easily. Because that was the issue with it being factory. I never thought it should be factory. It should always been woods. And then even if Tagilla was 100% on factory, which I don't think he should be, you'd have to go from woods to factory to even just go and attempt him. Just reduces the reps significantly. But even then, so now let's assume we're in a non-transit world. We're back like we are now. It's all the maps are open.
Yeah.
In that situation, okay, 70% boss spawns, that's fine. But I agree with you that the gear should have been lowered. I think you should sometimes find something good. But in this particular wipe, I think the gear needs to be scaling with the player base. So at the beginning, giving people class 6 plates from Tagilla and the class 5 face shield every single time is a bit of a mistake. When you go to the bosses, you should be getting something that's that next tier up. So a solid class 4 armor and BT ammo. That's fine.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. You went to go, you put your ass out there, you went and killed them all, you got the stuff out, there's the third party going on, you managed to extract. But that's a solid kit now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make you immortal.
You're right.
Whereas the classics plates and the killer face shields kind of do. And
yeah,
maybe those things can drop sometimes. Yeah, maybe those things can drop like 20% of the time, or 10% of the time, because eventually you're going to lose that stuff. But if it drops every single raid, I mean,
you just have a stash full of it.
Yeah, you end up with a stash full of it, and you've kind of got infinite access to it once you've got that. And once you've got one of them, because I tried doing some of the boss stuff, and it was really, really hot here. I'm going to blame it on the heat. But I was like super inept for one stream. I had a horrible, horrible stream the other day. I literally couldn't kill anybody.
We have those too.
I was just like, I can't be bothered with this. Like, I'm either just dying to players on factory trying to find Tagilla, or I just died to Tagilla himself. Fair. He sucked up 1100 HP damage out of an M4 through his face shield, or I was like 40. I was literally one bullet away from killing him with the PPSH to the leg.
Oh my
I forgot
goodness!
To put it on full auto, and like it's just like it was a proper skill issue moment. But if you don't have the gear, it does make it a lot harder to actually kill them in the first place. Once you've killed them once, you've then got the a class 5 armor or class 6 or whatever. So when you get shot by the boss, you have more time to actually kill them. Going to kill Vishala and his boys with a class 3 or a press armor or Pacron or something is really difficult because you only have to screw up once against one of the guys and he'll just 2-shot you with BT.
Right.
Whereas if you've got a class 5 on, if one of them's got a Corund or something, you've got a lot more leeway now. Yeah, to go and get it again. So there's a bit of a spiral there, and the gear is like slightly too good. I don't think it breaks the wipe really, but there's only a small percentage of players that are actually doing that. But it's kind of the only way to get the good gear. It's like it's too good for what it is, right? It doesn't just give you a leg up. It's too much for. It's like if you're going to go and get that, if you want to get endgame stuff, it's like the only way to do it. Which I think it should be a bit more balanced along with the other stuff. But it's easiest, it's easy to look at that in hindsight with the bosses and the 100% thing because it wasn't something I was predicting being an issue.
No,
might be something that they figured out. This might be what they needed was to see that how it affected, the wipe at the start and see how much, it actually affected the progression and what players actually went for it. Was it spread out? Was it just like the same players over and over? Because that's the other thing is you have those grinders that, their first mission is to find the cheapest gear to buy just to transit to streets to farm Kaban and Kalante. And I've seen so many videos of that where that's all people were doing. They were just constantly, resetting, going back in, resetting. And it was like, it's good for them, but it's not great for the player base as a whole. And I think a mixture of, chance there needs to be back where it's not guaranteed. You can risk it. And if you catch them, you're going to be rewarded, but you at least need to have to guess. You shouldn't know for sure that they're there or know for sure if they're not one place, they're for sure one other place. Like you said, that chance in Tarkov matters. It makes the game feel the way it feels normally.
Right.
But
it changes your pathing too.
They're testing.
Yeah. Because like going to Shoreline right now, knowing Sanitar's there.
Yeah,
it just changes. Yeah, you had a Gigabeef moment almost.
I got destroyed by Sanitar.
Literally, just like walking up the the ditch line before cottages on the left side of the village there.
Yeah.
We're just walking up through there. As soon as his head clears as soon as his head clears the surface and you can see through there, he just drops. I was behind him. It was hilarious. It was so funny to watch.
We hadn't got a chance to really aggro them. Like we hadn't got a voice line.
No, we were still so far away.
Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Well, they must have, tweaked the AI," but it's like I haven't seen a lot of examples of that. That was
It's a
just
skill
like a
issue.
random Yeah, that was definitely a skill issue. I was so shocked because I fought Sanitar there a million times. Never, ever has he aggroed me right there, and never, ever has he one-tapped me from there. And it was just like plus I was already having a bad day because it's on my first day and I died like my first 6 raids. So I was like, I just want to win. And then of course I get things like that happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that bosses needed more of a balance, but again, they have to test these things, so it is what it is.
Yep.
We started to touch on it a little bit. We can go into the major issue with the ref, right? And I don't necessarily think it's the items he has because for the price of the GP coins, like it balances out pretty well. I think one box of like M61 is it's either 58 or 68 GP coins, which is kind of steep. But do you think that they should have nerfed him a bit going into the hardcore wipe? Do you think it's something that was perfectly fine and, leave it as is? Or do you think they should have disabled the transferring of cash? Because I think that's the real issue, right?
Well, I was just say just a question on ref real quick because I have not looked into any of that. Is he fully unlockable right now? Like fully usable?
Yeah, you can
No.
you can
So
can't you get
you
access to him?
can you can you can't access ref right now.
Okay. I was wondering because I hadn't seen anybody using him.
Yeah, so ref is not unlockable because Skier's Quest Easy Money Part 1 has not been unlocked.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
can't
Okay.
so you can't get ref. So they let you get Jaeger through introduction, but you can't get ref at all. So the only thing that you could do right now is transfer money, but you can transfer money even without ref, which is a bit of an interesting choice. And the problem is I think they did adjust it one time, but the amount of money, we were talking about stuff being more expensive and the stuff not selling for a lot and the scavs being kind of, there's no flea market, scav cooldown is quite long. A lot of the ways that you make money in this game are quite restrictive now. But if you've got EOD and you've got Arena, you can transfer 750,000 rubles a day. It's really
Which is
insane. It's an insane
extremely
number.
easy to do. Yeah. And you
Well,
can make
And you
that
get
just
I
by
logged
running the
certificate for
into
winning
games. Yeah.
checkpoint, for example.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I logged into Arena last night for the first time and hadn't played, in a while. And after just a couple bad matches, I was already sitting at like 1.3 mil. And it's just like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'm not transferring anything over right now because I feel like it's going to sort
Yeah,
of
I
just
haven't
steal
either.
the experience from me. Just I
I
don't know. I'm
just
kind of enjoying the way that the hardcore wipe is playing out, and I want to deal with the restrictions that they've given me. If I just move, 1.5 mil over 2 days, I'm gonna just I don't know. It just kind of makes I don't know, it robs me of a bit of the joy of the experience. I don't blame anybody for doing it. It's
no,
it's
I get
probably
it
So
both ways.
the easiest, most
I
yeah,
effective way of
understand both
making
sides.
money, but
it
I
is.
don't
It
want to
is
do it
absolutely.
personally just because
I
it'll change my
sent
experience, and I don't want that.
the first 750 over to me,
Well,
and
to be
I
fair,
felt
you
bad
needed
about
it
having it.
because
Well, no, I
you blew all
fixed
your
it.
money by accident at first.
I fixed the issue nonetheless. If you notice top right up there, I'm not going to show everybody, but I fixed the issue. So I sent the money over, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, I have money. I can do things."
Oh my
Um,
goodness, you did. How did you
yeah.
do that? Oh my god.
But so instead, I just bought some random shit off fence, guns and things for way too much money, and blew all that money out. And then was just not really too concerned about what happens after that. I'm not transferring any more money over because, like you said, Gigabeef, it really kind of takes away from the hardcore experience. At first, in my brain, I was like, "Oh, this is perfect. Like, I don't have to worry about cash. I can have unlimited money every day. I can buy whatever I need over and over and over and over." But that just puts you back in the cycle of playing Tarkov the way Tarkov was before, essentially. It doesn't, like, give you the flea market or anything, right? But, like, it gives you the option to blow money and buy meds, buy guns, buy whatever you need. You can, buy Cobra sights all day long with it. It's one of those things that it does definitely mess with the integrity of the hardcore idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that anymore. I spent every dollar I had just to make sure all my ref money was gone. Literally at 0 rubles. Um, which isn't a big I have things I can sell. I can make money. That's not an issue.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But yeah, it felt bad. Like I didn't enjoy sending the money over from ref like I thought I was going to. I thought it was going to be like this revelation of this new way to just constantly farm money. And instead it's just like, I feel like I was cheating a little bit, I felt like I had done something wrong.
well, I mean, and that's per player. Like, you get to decide how you feel about that, but I agree. I'm not for like any kind of like cheesing against rule sets. I just feel like Yeah, it might be nice for the benefit you get in the short term, but like long term, I want to just stick to what they're trying to do, play it the way they're wanting us to play it. But here on the other side of it, BSG does give you the option to do that, so that's why I don't fault people who do it. It's not like you're doing anything wrong. You know, were given that by BSG, so you know I see both sides of it.
Yeah, for sure. I just think it's too much. It's BSG should have changed it. They want to incentivize people to play Arena. So, you know, BSG is still going to have Arena be kind of OP.
Yeah,
It's never going to
it
change.
has to be.
They
Yeah,
want
it
us to
has to
play
be.
it. So
Right.
that's just
In
the
the
way
eyes
it
of
is.
needing to make money and player base and numbers and all that kind of stuff, it is what it is, right? Like it's the
Yeah,
best idea for them. It's what works.
Pretty
a
much. But that's the thing.
very
Yeah.
It's like it's a shame because I actually quite enjoy Arena for what it is, and I don't mind
Yeah.
doing it for weapon skins and stuff. I really enjoyed doing the battle pass. I thought that was great. You
Yeah,
know, I'd pay
absolutely.
for another one of those, no problem. I
Yeah.
like playing Last Hero. I don't really play the round based ones. I play Last Hero and
I like
same.
mainly.
Checkpoint.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
same with me.
Checkpoint's pretty fun. Honestly, it's grown on me a lot.
It
I'm pretty
has.
on par between Checkpoint and Last Hero because the thing is, I used to like Last Hero only, and I used to play Checkpoint sparingly when it came up on the dailies.
Yeah, just for
But
dailies,
Checkpoint
right?
is just
Yeah.
a little bit more chill. So if I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
intending to just like sweat out, then I don't want to play Last Hero necessarily because like Last
right.
Hero makes my brain hurt a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that's completely understandable.
I'm
Yeah, I'm kind
mostly a
of the same
solo
way.
player, so I tend to steer away from like the team-based games and the team-based modes. So even in Tarkov, like yeah, we duo a lot, but we also run solo a lot just because
Mm.
we like the experience.
Right.
So yeah, in most game modes, like if there's teammates, I just choose the single
Well,
player or
that's
not
what I
single
like
player, but
about
the
Checkpoint
just
is
me.
it gives you the opportunity to play a more relaxed version of Last Hero, essentially. Like, you're still shooting everything you see. You're just I don't know. I kind of ignored the team aspect. I don't like capture points. I don't like you know what I mean? I'm not trying to help the team win. I'm playing Checkpoint because I just want to shoot stuff and not have to, like you said, sweat it out on Last Hero. Because every time I get on Last
Mm.
Hero, it doesn't matter what I may say going into it. Like, oh, I don't really care. I'm just, I just want to play some arena. It instantly turns into a sweat fest. I die once. I'm like, all right, fuck this. It's go time. Like I got to step it up. Like I can't do this. But on Checkpoint, I just don't care. Like it's
Yeah,
individual score doesn't really matter as much. It's just whatever. I can just hang out and play, and I'm cool with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. Um, but yeah, it's
100%.
it's fun though. Arena is good for what Arena is. It's a nice little break from Tarkov. You know, it lets you just firefight after firefight after firefight, which is cool. It kind of, in a way, helps you with Tarkov if you're not great with gunfights. You know, it kind of lets you learn what attachments and guns you like, and you're not losing all your kit in the process of trying to figure this out. I think Arena has some good value to it, and I think Arena is useful in a regular wipe, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't do blast gang. I don't do
Team fight.
team fight. Yeah, team fight. Just
Sometimes they force you to do team fight. Like this, they've got a
the
new quest
weeklies and
line or
stuff.
something in game right
Yeah,
now, and they force you. Well, I never do the weeklies or dailies with it. I re-roll and spend all my money to not get team fight or blast gang. But
yeah,
some of the quest lines that you get that are like you have to do this thing to get camo. If you have to do blast gang, or I don't really have any suggestions for blast gang actually, but if it's blast gang or team fight, because I think that's what this one is right now. It's like you have to
yeah.
do something on checkpoint, something on last hero, and then either blast gang or team fight. The trick to team fight is playing team fight chop shop because it's tiny and the rounds are really
Right.
short, so you're not just sat there for a million years. I just don't like playing team fight, but team fight
Yeah.
chop shop is by far the quickest, and it is if you just need a few wins to get through
Yeah.
a quest line or
Yeah.
whatever. Chop shop team fight is bearable.
It is. And as much as I dislike any of the I don't like chop shop for team fight when I'm playing team fight to play team fight, like when I play with friends or something like that. And we're actually playing it. I don't like chop shop. But when I just want to get my games out of the way, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I go to chop shop. It's the only map I have selected for team fight, and I just grind it out real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't matter how good you're playing on teamfight. If you die, you're just stuck waiting on the rest of your team. Rounds can go on forever. And then the fact that we're playing to the best of 5 or whatever, like
Yeah.
it drags on a bit too much for me. And it's the same for like Call of Duty and other things like that. Search and Destroy in Call of Duty was the only game mode that I actually played that was, drawn out, but I was actually pretty good at that. So it was a little different. But yeah, with Arena, I stick with I reroll my dailies and weeklies until I hit checkpoint and last hero,
Mm.
and yeah, I just avoid team fight and blasting as much as possible.
The only other thing they need to do with Ref, in my opinion, is they need to get rid of that ammo. They've like added the extra ammo to him at level 4. They just need to get rid of all that crap. Like M61, like BT for 7.62.54, like it just needs to go. Like I don't know why it's on Ref. It's so stupid. Like you can't get it anywhere else. Also, the 6 plates in the Zhuk as well. That just needs to go too.
Yeah,
you can't buy classic plates from anyone else. Like it's just no. Just get it out of there.
That should be in raid only. Like,
and it is.
You find it in raid, you get
Yeah,
it, but not able to just purchase.
Right. And I can
like you said,
understand it from the money side of it.
Everywhere else.
Yeah, like on the financial side, I can understand it. You want people to want to play Arena. That way you're, cash grabbing where you can. But yeah, they don't need to have the top of the line stuff available through Ref to just be purchased with GP coins. And that's the other side of it is GP coins don't they're too easy to make. You don't need a whole lot of them to get good stuff. You can farm them out pretty well and consistently be able to buy those things over and over. I don't know where I could have swore I saw a post yesterday of somebody talking about Ref prices for like M61 and stuff. With the hardcore wipe. Maybe I'm crazy. I have to be because, like you said,
actually, I think I have seen that. In fairness, you can see it through the flea market interface. So you can look up
what it was.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see the price because you normally can't see the price, but I think you can on Ref's one because it shows it as a barter instead or something. So so I mean, and in fairness, it is up a lot.
Okay,
I can't remember what it was. It was like 8 or something per box, so it was like absolutely insane. Whereas now, as you say, it's like so cheap. It's like 50 or 60 for M61, which is it's better. I don't think it should be there, but like it's better.
Yeah, out of the game entirely would be ideal. Anything that breaks up people having to go in raid to get better items and like get the best of the best. I'm all for that stuff being out of the game. Do you guys think that BSG backpedaled on the hardcore wipe to keep players content?
Yes, but that's also not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
I think that they didn't really know exactly how people were going to respond going into it, and I think they've adjusted as we've gone on. So I don't think it's necessarily something that we should criticize them for. So they tried no quests. They wanted to see what happened. They said apparently they've had a look at the POIs and where people went. A lot of people were saying like we need something to do, so they said okay, we'll turn some of them back on. And then the transit system, everyone was like, we see what you're trying to do, but it just doesn't work, guys. Right. And they've gone, okay, we'll turn on the maps then. Yeah. I think it's okay. I honestly think it's fine. The rest
not even on that front. I'm sorry, I should have specified better. Do you think BSG backpedaled with the hardcore rule set before even starting the hardcore? Because like Adam and I were talking when Infographic 3 was dropped, it felt like one was like, okay, I can kind of see what you're lining up for hardcore. Infographic 2 was like, yeah, okay, this is in line with hardcore. This is what we want to see for hardcore stuff. And then Infographic 3 came out and it felt kind of dialed in, like they had other things in mind for that stuff. And we're just like, well, players are not receptive to what we've done so far. Should we, do you think that there was like some backpedaling before they, specifically for the rule set, before the wipe it even got here?
Due to the backlash after the second page.
Yeah.
It's possible, I suppose. It's possible, but I'm honestly not sure. I mean, they did get a lot of heat for the transit thing beforehand. People kind of could already see the issues that we were talking about, right? We all knew that it was going to be like this before it came in. So
the reduced rate of loot people were upset about, the transit system people were upset about, and then
that people were throwing a fit.
It just went. We were expecting like limited trader access and a few other things to go on, and instead it was 100% boss spawn and things like that. Like it
was very vague. It had 3 things that all kind of added up to the same thing, and the first 2 pages were pretty direct at like specific changes. It just seemed like, and it took them an extra day to drop that 3rd page, so I felt like they kind of went back to the drawing board and toned some things down. It's impossible to know for sure, but it just seemed that way.
So it was reduced experience for killing enemies and dying, increased experience for surviving, and increased AI difficulty. And like to us, increased AI difficulty, that's kind of a given. We expected as much. Increased experience for surviving and reduced experience for killing enemies and dying. That felt like those should have just been one thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe not. But after seeing what they have done,
waves,
right.
That stuff shouldn't have been a wave. Like the AI should have been more difficult from the get-go. So that's the part I was kind of like, wait a minute, what? But, like I said, no way to know.
Well, and then after them backpedaling so fast on, introducing tasks, bringing that, or I shouldn't say backpedaling, but introducing tasks so fast, and a lot of things that they've come in and changed quickly. I just feel like they're more concerned about the player reception versus like actually testing a true hardcore playset. Because a lot of the hardcore rules that we got, while they are hardcore, they're not as hardcore as it could have been. They're not what a lot of the base rule sets that players were going off of are, or at least similar to. I don't know. I was just curious as to your opinion on whether you think that they were wanting to do something more extreme, or do you think that we're right in line with where they wanted to be at?
I think they probably wanted it to be harder, but I think in this particular wipe, I think they're a lot more willing to just do whatever we're saying because it's different as well. So this isn't, we branched off away from PvE. 1.0 is, at this point, as far as we're aware, not going to have any of these changes at all. So this wipe is more for the community to give BSG time to release 1.0 and work more on that without having to spend too much time on this. And so I feel like giving people a good experience on this is actually more important than them sticking to their idea of what the perfect hardcore Tarkov should be, because this is a one-off wipe and it's not necessarily going to be representative of what the actual game's going to be like. So it's kind of like, well, whatever, we'll just, the guys aren't liking it, fine, we'll just change it. This isn't forever. This is a one-off. This is supposed to be an event for everybody just to have fun, try what a hardcore wipe out. Maybe we'll get some interesting stuff for 1.0. But this isn't forever. This is supposed to be temporary. So we'll just we'll make it the experience they want. I feel like that's a reasonable thing that BSG could be, and I think it's possible. I think it's possible that they're taking that approach. I really do.
It's kind of what it feels like.
And I think they made it pretty clear from the get-go that everything was going to have changes. It was kind of, they were feeling things out, seeing how people reacted to certain things, and I agree on certain things that I feel like they changed them too fast. But I wouldn't look at it as a backpedal or as like backing down. I would look at it as fulfilling their promise to, bring things back once people threw a fit. Because that's what they say, well, things will come back, we'll turn things on. It just happened a little quicker than some of us would like. But at the same time, they have eyes on the player numbers. They can see exactly how many people weren't playing, how many people were, broke, how many people were struggling. And it might have got to a point where it was beneficial or it wasn't beneficial to keep things going the way they were because people were dropping so fast. That's very possible.
And my follow-up for that question now is, we know with 1.0 there will be an option for a hardcore rule set. Do you think that we will see a more extreme rule set introduced with 1.0 stuff, or do you think it'll be more in line with what we got now?
I think it'll be more in line with what we've got now. I don't think they'll ever separate. I don't think they'll ever do what I want them to do, which is to have a separate hardcore character that's only playing with other people playing on hardcore, like we are now. Because it's the only way to get a true hardcore experience. Because otherwise, you're interacting with the traders and the flea market or whatever it might be indirectly through the players that you encounter. And you're also it changes the loot pool as well, because players can just buy stuff off the traders or the flea, and so they don't need to loot those things in raids. So when you're on your hardcore run, you find stuff that other people have left behind because they don't need to pick up those things. So it's like it influences so much stuff. But I don't think they're going to do that. I just don't think they are. So I reckon that it'll probably be something similar to this, because it's easy restrictions to put on an account. Without changing the game at a sort of server level. So you've got everybody kind of playing in the same servers. So yeah, I think it'll probably look something like this, I would guess. It's like your own secure container restrictions, your own trader restrictions, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not sure, because I thought they were going to add it as like a prestige thing, but now prestige is sort of its own thing, so I don't really know how it would work now.
Yeah, the prestige system, when it was introduced, I was expecting it to be a little bit different, but I think it's pretty cool. I think it's interesting. I think it gives, especially those players that really grind. Like, I think I'm a grinder, right? Like I get on, I put my hours in, I play the crap out of the game, and I do as much as I possibly can. Okay, he'll be back. I do as much as I possibly can, but then I look at these other players and they're like prestige 2, prestige 3, prestige 4 now, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like, so seeing something for them is pretty cool, because a lot of the times they just didn't have anything, right? Like the average player always has something to do. The prestige grinders, they're kind of running out of stuff. Like, sure, they have the opposite, the opposing task lines for the things that they didn't do. They could knock out, I guess, but yeah, I think it's a pretty cool system. I was expecting it to be more in line with like a hardcore type setup, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you used your friend's profile and went to their hideout to use the gym?
I have not, because I don't know anybody who is playing, who played last wipe and got the gym that hasn't booted up the game this wipe.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I was like, "Oh, that seems like a
I don't
cool
think I
feature,"
have
and then I went through
anyone.
my friends list. I was like, "All these people play Tarkov. Like, they're on now,
Exactly.
Like, I don't have anybody that was playing and is not now."
Yeah, it is. It is funny.
It is,
It
yeah. I
is
think
funny. Though
it's a pretty funny situation happening.
There was like random posts for all sorts of stuff. I saw something on Reddit. Somebody had put up a load of items on the flea or something. I mean, whether this is true or not, I'm not sure. I think it is though. Put up a load of items on the flea and then left them, and then apparently the ragman returned them to him or something. It kind of happened in a widespread way. It must have been some random
Yeah.
bug. But he said, "Oh yeah," he said it wasn't worth it because I've got -6 flea market rep.
That is
Not that
funny.
matters right
Yeah.
now, but
No,
at
it
some point,
doesn't.
you know,
It's
it
still
might matter.
funny, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's hilarious.
yeah. I know people trying all sorts of stuff. You could do that thing with Prestige previously, where you went into like 5 raids back to back, throw all your gear in the water, all insured, and then you Prestige, and then 6 hours later you'll get it all
You
back
have
from
all
Prapor.
your stuff. Yeah, I saw a few people posting about that, which is hilarious.
I love all that stuff. It's funny.
Yeah, completely broken, but yeah, it's funny to see those things. What is your biggest complaint about this hardcore wipe, as well as what is your favorite thing that they've introduced or that you've had to go through um, with this wipe cycle specifically?
My favorite thing is just the organicness of the gearing up, for sure. Like trying to
Yeah,
go and strategize to get better stuff. Piecing together an amalgamation of random things to make some interesting guns, and then feeling
yeah,
like you're actually the king.
right.
That's
Yeah,
cool. And you have got one chance with that one gun. Like
right.
I've got 3 interesting guns. One is an RFB with a Sig Tango 6T on it,
Nice.
with the M80 from the starter kit. So that's good. I've got
Yeah, that's solid.
a hilarious Vepa 136
Oh, okay. Yeah.
with it's got the Hero Arms pistol grip stock like
Oh,
combination
yeah,
grip,
yeah. Right.
a plum handguard, and an AFG Maglock tan foregrip on it. So that
That's
one's a
hilarious.
proper.
Yeah, that is a mess.
I mean,
Yeah.
like you'd never use that ever. Oh, and a knurled charging handle for no reason, but it's like top
Right.
loaded with 5 rounds of BP in it. So that
Yeah.
thing's a bit of a menace if you actually come up against anyone. And then I've got a Vector with tiny, tiny, tiny magazines, but I do have a suppressor.
Hey, the suppressors are huge this wipe too. That's something that I was actually glad to see. The LPVOs and suppressors are actually hard to find,
Hmm.
and that they actually feel very useful this wipe. Because a lot of the times I'm picking and choosing who I only have like 40 kills, 50 kills, something like that, because I'm picking and choosing my fights because I'm going loud all the time now, and I don't necessarily want everybody knowing where I'm at. So if I shoot, it's like a have to situation. But with the suppressors, it's like, okay, I'm a little more free now. I've noticed like I have a few 7.62 AKs that are relatively built. I got like the Valde and the DKM suppressor. I've got some Frankenstein guns as well, but I've got a couple 7.62 AKs that are actually pretty well put together and they're all suppressed. And uh, running those, like, yeah, like you said, you feel like the king. Like you feel good. Like you feel like you're in a position to win fights. You feel like you can take fights that you wouldn't typically take this hardcore wipe. So they've done a really good job about, like you said, organically just gearing up and making survival matter and bringing things to a point that your in raid time is more important, and the way you go about your in raid time is like the crucial aspect of the survival here. Where
Mm.
before, you could just abuse anything that they would throw your way, flea market traders, stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's fun. And your biggest complaint, and it doesn't necessarily have to be
Biggest
like, oh, this is an awful thing, just
biggest complaint is genuinely the transits, I think, and the fact
yeah,
that they forced them in. I mean, I'm so glad that they've returned on it, but yeah, that's just the part that I just don't think works. They keep trying it. It just technically doesn't work. It doesn't work because of times and everything
right,
else. I think that's probably the worst part of all of it, just sitting around in queue. As I said
yeah,
before, if I could fiddle with my stash, I actually probably would care less, but it's just there's too many things. I got killed by guards on my way in. It's just annoying. It's just
yeah,
everything about it is
yeah.
just kind of annoying.
It is a frustrating situation that they've introduced. Uh, have you had any issues with hackers or anything? Does it feel like you've been, getting cheated on a bunch in this wipe, or because like personally, I've seen people complain a lot, but I haven't actually ran into anything. There's been a couple situations where I'm like, it was a little suspect, but with desync and everything else, it's genuinely hard to tell sometimes. But like, have you had any blatant cheaters or anything like that?
To be honest, I haven't had anything. I haven't seen anything strange at all so far
Nice.
this wipe, which is good. I don't usually run into that many people, but the worst experience of my Tarkov career to date was last wipe when the flea came back.
Really?
That first 2 weeks was absolutely horrendous. I was getting killed over and over by people who were the most blatantly suspicious people I've ever seen in this game, and it was horrible. The first, when the flea was shut, it was fine. As soon as it opened, it was abysmal. It was so bad. So this wipe's actually been really nice. I haven't had any suspicious deaths at all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's as much of a reason to have boosters in raid, right? I mean, sure, I'd imagine there's some power leveling and stuff going on, but levels don't matter. So it's, I think they've done a reasonable job at, like, at least the real money transaction side of it. I think they've done a pretty decent job at getting rid of the incentive to boost and things like that. Like, obviously, it's still an issue. There's still going to be people that pay for whatever services. But overall, yeah, it seems like the issue is down. I mean, I might be wrong. I'm only playing on.
It's
certain
hard to
servers,
tell. But... Yeah, exactly. It's hard to tell, like anecdotal evidence and whatnot. But it seems a lot. Well, it's just much more difficult to do RMT without the flea for a start, because you can't farm up the money as easily.
That's true.
The items don't sell for as much to the traders. So even if you're doing a carry raid of some kind with a cheater, you pick up a load of stuff, but it hardly sells for anything to the traders. I mean, you could go in and get the good gear, I guess. You could go with a cheater and go and get the good gear in a carry raid like that from one of the bosses or something. But I don't know. I mean, I've just not seen that much of it. It's seeming okay. I mean, at the beginning of the wipe, there's a lot of genuine players, so it kind of dilutes the cheaters out of there a little bit, because lots of people who are just playing organically just for a bit, and then as they go away, you end up with this surge of cheaters, and then people get bored after a while, and it seems to get better at the end of the wipe as well. But for now, no, it seems all right. And I think with the flea gone, I think there's a lot of people who probably don't want to be sort of going on actual carry raids, because you have to go in with a cheater there.
Yeah.
You can't just like put an item up and then get it bought for you from the flea, because like they couldn't prove any link there or anything. So that's with no flea, there's no, you have to be in raid with these peoples, and you can get your account flagged and banned just for being in raid with them or partying with them in specifically.
Yeah, specifically. Yeah.
It's kind of more it's kind of more suspect to be doing that kind of thing. I feel like some of the people who are sort of just casually engaged in the cheating community are probably less interested. I mean, my guess. It's quite nice. It's quite nice right now.
It is. I've actually not complained too much. The only situation I've had was I literally spawned into factory, and as soon as I spawned in, I was like, well, I just want to transit to woods. I don't want to be here. I've already expressed how much I dislike that map, or at least how bad I am on that map. So I spawn in. I'm in, I think, gate 1, and I just go to covert movement, creep over to the side, and I'm like, I'll sit here for 5 to 10 minutes, let it kind of the raid progress a bit, and then I'll make my way to transit. As I'm sitting there, I hear footsteps sprint past my door, and then sprint right back to my door. The guy opens it, doesn't do anything. A few seconds go by, he peeks in and just one taps me right away. I was like, oh, okay. And he had like 100 hours on the account, and it was suspect. But outside, like, I can't prove that he was cheating. I can't say definitively he was cheating or anything like that. So I just chalk it up for suspect, and potentially like, hey, he was just checking the gates. If he's a hardcore factory guy, like, check your gates for spawns, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, like, that's the only thing I've ran into that was suspicious enough to say, like, yeah, maybe, But outside of that, I've been having really good experiences in raid. Like, we've had some really great raids. We've had some bad raids too, but the overall experience with the hardcore wipe has been pretty great, honestly.
Yeah, it's been alright.
I do like how much they focused on the survival aspect of it. I think that was pretty cool to see that, the way they've changed it up. But yeah, we've been recording for like an hour and 40 minutes roughly. I'm sure you have things going on, so we can clean it up and end it there if you want.
Sure, yeah. Any closing thoughts or anything like that?
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, right on time.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I lost power like 5 times in a row.
I guess there's like a tip we could throw out there. If you guys are having problems with muscle memory and constantly clicking ensure, you can lock your cache. That way you can't spend it. I think overall this Tarkov experience with the hardcore wipe has shown me a lot about the player base. It has also taught me a lot about just figuring out how to make your fun in Tarkov. You don't always have to rely on, a task to be there. You don't always have to rely on the best of the best of the best stuff. And there's a reason that so many people do genuinely enjoy early wipe Tarkov. and it's because of the chaos. It's because of I don't know what I'm running next raid. I don't know what I'll have access to in the next 5 minutes. Like there's that dead zone of just not knowing, and that to me at least, or it seems to add a lot of value to it. And I understand that there's a lot of players that also want direction, but not having direction has made for some interesting fights in weird places, and like it's made the map feel more lived in, if that makes sense. It feels more alive overall, where it's not just a race to the POI and then a firefight, and you either win or lose, and you get your gear and get out. With this, it's anywhere that I'm creeping around or moving through the map at could potentially be a fight, which is, it kind of keeps you on edge. And I don't know, they've done a really good job of just making in raid time feel more important.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. It's I definitely, like, I've been like kind of what you were saying before. I've been like trying to time my shots, like not engaging every single time. I've had like, especially when I was going through a rough period, because it is brutal to die at the moment. I did spend like 4 hours dying or something, and my confidence was shaken. I had a guy I was in the shoreline transit area. Guy runs across the street. He's like by one of the cars, like going back and forth, not staying still. I'm like aimed at him with my special VPO. And I'm just like, do I want to take this shot? I was just like, man, my confidence is so broken at this point. Like,
That's fair.
Some random crap's gonna happen if I shoot this guy. I'm gonna shoot him twice. It's not gonna hit him. He's gonna bunny hop away. He's gonna then know exactly where I am. I'm stuck in here. He's gonna just like turn around and headshot me with 9mm PSD from across the map.
Right.
I can't. I can't. Like, he's slightly too far with my red dots for me to want to do it. So I let him go, and chap was just like, trigger discipline. And then his buddy runs straight across the street afterwards, and I was like, vindicated.
There it is.
It definitely would have killed me. Like.
100%.
The thing is, in Tarkov, it's like you run those situations through your head because they can happen, and they do happen, and that's part of the excitement. Like, you never know what's going to happen if you take a fight, because people can be anywhere. Like, there could be a third party behind you, there could be a teammate, behind him a little bit. Like, you got to be careful.
Yeah, you never know who's in the area creeping around with you. Sorry, go ahead.
You got to check your corners so much at the moment. I've been killed both from a random workshop inside Warehouse 14 on customs. A guy who I was like fighting scabs and another player, and the dude literally just sat in there for 10 minutes while we did all that. And then I was like, right, and to do the loot, whatever, like wandering around. And I wasn't even like on the body or anything. I was wandering around, and he just steps out and headshots me. I was like, okay, like, all right, fine. And some guy in the gas station office, same thing. I was like wandering through there, and was in there for a bit. He didn't come out straight away. And I was like, oh, no, let me go and have a look and see if there's anything behind the cash register. Out he comes, and just like, oh, what are you doing in there? So you got to really clear everything. Like, I'm not clearing enough of the buildings, I don't think. I'm kind of playing Last Wipe's Tarkov still.
Yeah.
Those sight lines on customs, like, there's so many new sight lines with the expansion. We were sitting up in a building, me and Ryan, and I think this was the first day of wipe, and this duo comes running alongside of our building, and they end up crossing the train tracks going over towards New Gas.
Yep.
And one of them just stops and stands still. And I'm like sitting there looking out the window. All I have is an MP5, and this is like a 200-meter shot. And I'm like, do I do it? And I take one shot, and I hit him in the head, and I kill him with the MP5. But I didn't go loot him because I was like, it's not even worth it.
Not a great spot. His teammate was still alive. There were deciding factors in there.
Like, I was just taking a shot. I did not expect that to actually hit, but it's
that's the other side of it, is players are far less geared now. I don't really run helmets in raid, so I've been head tapped over and over and over by really bad ammos that typically would just bounce off my helmet. But the lack of excess gear to want to run everything I have all at once, it's just not there. So yeah, you can get those lucky shots. You can get those, whether your damage fall off should have been so severe, but instead you just shot a man in the back of his head with an MP5 from a mile away. Like,
I had M8 too. It was like,
like those things can happen because of the way the wipe is right now. But yeah, to comment kind of on what you were saying about stuck in Last Wipe's mindset, even knowing that covert movement's kind of king right now, and being selective with your shots and stuff like that, I still catch myself doing things that I just should not do. Probably shouldn't even have been doing them in Last Wipe, but get a kill, hang in the area way too long, loot through every single item he has, looking through every, like thinking that those things matter when they don't, when it's like grab his gun, grab his helmet, grab the basics and get out, or at least drop your gear, go grab his stuff to a bush somewhere. You know, like there's ways you can loot without having to just be right at the body. And when every other player is in the same scenario you're in with lack of good gear and things like that, when you hear a shot, in my mind, you still kind of want to push to it. So understandably, players are doing that. And I've died several times already because of that. You know, just not thinking clearly or thoroughly enough about my surroundings and what could be in the area or who is actually in the area.
We got third partied on ground zero, I think, almost every raid.
Yeah,
Now
that was
one worked out because the guy came up and actually talked, and then he's like, "It's not worth even fighting right now." He's like, "I'm just trying to survive."
that's the
Which
Grundle guy that came back later. He literally just crept around and followed us after you died. I killed the guy that killed
I was gonna
you,
say,
and then he
sat out
shows
there
up
and waited on
again,
him.
and I ended up fighting him. I killed
He's-
him, but yeah,
He said he was going about his business. He's like, "All right, good luck, you guys." And then I just hear him sitting out there, and I was like, "He just sit
just
out there waiting."
waiting. Yeah,
Yeah, let's just get the opposite way.
yeah.
But
But yeah, there's like this additional mindfulness that you have to have with hardcore wipe that you wouldn't typically consider because you could just buy everything back from the traders, especially early wipe kits. You're not losing anything major. You're just losing, level 3 plates, a shoddy helmet, and a decent, not great gun. Like nothing special. Stuff that you can replace from traders. But with the hardcore wipe, every little piece matters, and it matters a lot. So it's there's like there's this added mindfulness that you have to have. That's really kind of shaken me up a bit lately.
Yep.
Yeah, hardcore Tarkov. It is quite an experience. It's a lot of fun. I hope that it translates into 1.0 in some way, shape, or form. Maybe with some of the core mechanics of the hardcore rule set potentially coming into 1.0 stuff, which I doubt. But hey, wishful thinking, right? I do think that 1.0 is going to have, like you said, you're going to start with nothing and you're going to have to find your way. So maybe we will see a slight introduction of like a form of a hardcore type play style, at least for the early wipe stuff.
I think it's going to borrow a lot. The no traders at start, like I think a lot of stuff is going to be similar because they're going to want to slow the progression down for 1.0. And Nikita's always said that he intends on it to be like a story based. So I imagine you're going to have to meet everybody. Like I think it'll borrow quite a bit. And that might be part of putting it in now is to get us used to it.
Yeah, potentially. That's a good possibility. Yeah, is there anything else either of you guys want to add or talk about or mention?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm good too.
All right.
Well, first of all,
Oh.
thank you for doing this. We appreciate it. We know you're very busy, and
You did ask me
I'm
a long
sure,
time ago. It's taken a long
well,
time for us
hey,
to
I
actually get
even said
together.
when I first
So
asked you,
yeah.
I even said no rush, because we knew we didn't know if you would have time. We didn't know if you would even respond. Like, so
Or if you
we
really even
appreciate it
wanted
because
to,
you didn't have to.
like
Yeah.
we also didn't want to come off as like harassing you about it. So it was one of those things. It's like we'll bring it up as we think about it and like come to it, but it's not something we want to be like every week. Like you want to do it, you want to do, So it was. We were surprised when you said you did, and then from there we were just like, well, at your pace then, So.
Good. Well, I'm glad you reminded me because it's just easy to forget. So no, it's been fun. It's been fun.
All right. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like the vid and comment your opinions below. And of course, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot as we push towards 1K, and it keeps you up to date with all of our content. Thanks to all our subscribers, and a special thanks to our channel members. If you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a member below. We'll catch you next week. See ya.